How does Roth conversion affect my Medicare premiums?
Roth conversion. So Roth conversion is taking money that you have in a 401k, IRA type of asset, 403b, 457. All of these are retirement plans that are what's called tax deferred. So it just means that you put money in, you didn't have to pay any taxes on that money when it went in, and you only have to pay taxes when you take it out, right?
Yep.
So 401k, you save for, maybe you get a match. And so you have the capability of pulling money out of those tax deferred accounts and moving it over to a Roth IRA where it will grow tax free for the rest of your life. And so there's some big advantages in the sense that, obviously tax free is better than tax deferred. If I make 15% tax deferred, I pull that money out, I'm going to have to pay taxes on that growth. I make 15% tax free, I pull that money out, I don't have to pay any tax. Very, very powerful. There also is a required minimum distribution, from your tax deferred accounts, which means that, when you get old enough, 73, 75 eventually,
Yep.
you have to start pulling money out of those accounts. And so that can be a real onerous scenario in retirement, believe me, especially if you have a fair amount in those accounts. If you do the math and look at it, you'll be surprised at how difficult that's going to be for a lot of people. So you can convert, but when you convert, it's taxable.
Yep.
So if I take 50,000 out or 100,000 or 200,000, whatever it is, that ends up on my tax return, let's say in 2023. Well, if you're over 65, you are enrolled in, most likely, I think almost everybody is enrolled in Medicare. And so inside of Medicare, they have this tiered system. Depending on how much, I think 167 is the lowest right now for Part B. And then it goes up, and I think it gets nearly $600 a month.
Yeah, it can get pretty expensive.
Yeah, and so it depends on how much you make. And so let's say, and again, it depends whether you're single or joint also as a filer. Let's say that bumps you up into a higher Medicare bracket, which it would potentially if you exceeded that bracket. And Medicare is kind of different. In normal taxes, if I go, $10 over the bracket from 24% to 32%, I'm only paying 32% on that $10.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's not bad. It doesn't really matter. If I go $10 over on the brackets inside of Medicare, I'm in the next bracket, period. Yep. I just went from 167 to $300 or whatever it is, right? And so it's just even $1. I mean, $1 over. So it's a kind of a planning nightmare we have to deal with. But because it's very difficult sometimes when you're doing these conversions to figure out how to fit inside of those Medicare brackets, because there might be some other surprising income that comes through that bumps you up. So you usually leave a margin. But that is part of the calculation. You either try to stay inside the Medicare bracket, or you basically make sure that if you're going to pay the extra Medicare, that it still works out.
Yep.
The tax-free growth outdoes it, even though you paid the taxes. Now, it's explain how the taxes work, because it's kind of unusual. So if you get a 2023 increase from your Roth conversion, when does that affect your Medicare?
So if you're doing a conversion, let's say this year, so 2023, you won't see that there's a lag period till you see that premium jump. So you'll only see the premium jump for your 2025 premium.
Yep.
So it's like because you file in 2024, they have to evaluate your income for 2023, and then they send you a new letter for your 2025 premium. So that's why there's that lag period. So it's essentially, you don't see it for 2 years, that jump.
Does it stay up permanently, or what happens?
It doesn't. It's based off of that income each year. So your 2024 return would affect your 2026 premium. And so it's just a 2-year lag period.
So if you're continuing to do Roth conversions to try to get rid of your tax-deferred accounts or reduce them, you could continuously see yourself, every 2 years after that, having a higher Medicare. So why would you do this? What's the advantage of doing this now? Let's say, I'm 66 and I'm converting Roth. Besides the tax-free growth, what am I saving long-term in Medicare?
So the idea is, once you become, if you convert everything to Roth, let's just say that, then any income, any money you withdraw from your Roth retirement account is not taxable, or not taxable, and so you won't have any taxable income. And so when you look, the IRS for Medicare, when they look at this, there's no taxable income, so they can't raise your premiums.
Yeah, so what we've seen, and we've got a whole bunch of cases here within the practice where people are permanently paying more in Medicare, and some of them are paying the max in Medicare really for the rest of their lives because of how much money that they have in tax deferred accounts. Now, this is a first world problem, right?
Yep.
I mean, this is a good problem to have, but it's still very painful, and I get a lot of consternation from clients about it, and I understand that. Because they're stuck. There's no way to change it. I'm 78 years old. I'm forced to take money out of my retirement accounts through what's called the required minimum distribution. We call it the RMD. And every time I take that out, I am in the upper bracket on Medicare. And I'm stuck there for the rest of my life. And so what we're doing is we're going back to the people that are, younger and talking about, hey, this is the scenario that you might be facing when you're 78, right? And beyond. And the way around that is to have some pain now and do some conversions. And even if it does mean some increased Medicare, then the rest of your life could be better because the Roth can grow tax-free. There's no requirement to take anything out. And even if you do, it doesn't affect your Medicare.
Yeah.
And that's pretty nice, actually. Hard to do, very hard pill to swallow. But we have had some clients that have gone all the way through the process and done the full conversion. I think they're going to be really happy long term.
Yeah, it's tough to pay taxes, especially those big tax bills.
It is, exactly right. It's a better inheritance too, right? I mean, so it's a really nice situation. So if somebody inherits your IRA, they have to take it out over a 10-year period, right? It depends on who's inheriting. Let's just say it's your kids.
Yeah.
And so if your kids are inheriting your Roth IRA, they also have to take it out over a 10-year period, but it's tax-free. So they could leave it in there, let it grow tax-free for 10 years, which would be my high recommendation.
Yep.
And then take it out, and there's no consequence. And versus you leave them $1 million to $5 million in retirement plans, first world problem, good thing, they're probably pretty happy. However, they have to take that all out over that 10-year period. And they're probably not going to want to take it all out at the end because it would be really extremely expensive from a tax standpoint. So they're going to want to take some out maybe every year. They're going to have taxes every year for 10 years that might be at an elevated rate. And they're going to, oftentimes they're in their peak earning years,
Yep.
at that point too. So it's going to be kind of expensive for them. And so it really depends. And so that's one way to kind of give to your children is to kind of, get these things moved over to tax-free if it makes sense. You got to do the calculation. We use a really great program to analyze how it works and whether your net worth will increase or not, what bracket you could move in, fill up, looking at the Medicare, how much of that should you fill up? Should you go over the bracket anyway because it makes more sense long term? All of these questions come up in this planning process. And if you're ever going to meet with us for something, boy, I would say that's one of the most powerful things we're able to do for people. Obviously, we try to make as much money as we can in the stock market, but we're at the whims of the market. When you look at tax law, you can really do a lot of things. I focus on tax law a lot because I think it's a more certain return.
Yeah, if you play the tax law just correctly, you're guaranteeing you're paying less tax, and there's nothing that really can be changed about that.
We've seen some monstrous numbers for Roth conversions for comparison of what net worth would be in the future.
Yeah.
So here I am, I'm 65, what would my net worth be at 85 or something along those lines if I went down the path of just keeping my tax deferred accounts versus doing the conversion, and what's my net worth differential after tax in both of those situations. And so you just increased your estate dramatically. Because part of your estate is tax. So if I have a Roth, I don't have any tax on it. I got rid of that part. And so anyway, it's an unbelievable area. We talk about it on the show all the time. It's one of the best tax planning pieces. And again, it's something worth talking to us about. We have a lot of expertise here. We can really help people.